Hi, my name's David Hill. I was wandering around a second-hand bookshop the other day and I came across this book called The English Medieval Parish Church by a guy called G.H. Cook. It was published in 1954. By the time I got to page 50, I found that I was reading about a church in Tong, which is in Shropshire, which I know well because I've driven past it lots of times. It described how it was set up as a collegiate chantry church. I'd never even come across the concept of a chantry church, let alone a collegiate chantry church. Well, further research told me how it was all set up and how it all worked. In 1409, a lady called Elizabeth or Isabel de Pembrugge, or Pembridge, depending on which version you read, decided she was going to set up this collegiate chantry church in memory of her husband, who was a gentleman by the name of Sir Fulke de Pembrugge or de Pembridge. They were both fabulously wealthy, and he died in 1409, so by 1410 she was keen on purchasing a thing called an advowson. There are two versions of an advowson. The usual one is where you buy or you pay for the living of a priest, so you get the right to appoint a priest to a parish. But in this case, it was a collegiate advowson that she wanted, which gives you the right to purchase and define the way that your church will work. You're setting up a constitution for your church. So to get that, Isabel, or Elizabeth, went off to the king and paid him £50 to set up this advowson for the church at Tong. She also had to pay the abbey at Shrewsbury. Well, she decided that what she was going to do was to take over the existing church at Tong, put a new constitution in, endow it heavily, and then that would allow her to hire 5 priests and who could then pray for all eternity for her dear departed husband. And in due course, they would also pray for her loss. She survived for another 37 years, so eventually she died in 1447 and was buried alongside her husband. By that point, she'd actually had 3 marriages compared to her previous husband's 2. Well, with that kind of background, I really had to see the church. So, let's roll the tape and let's have a look. Rather helpfully, someone has left a rather nice drawing of what the scene would have looked like in the 15th century. So let's have a look around. We start with St Bartholomew's Church, which dominates the scene. And then there's the castle where the nobility would have lived. It was demolished some time ago and it's now under the M54. We've got the college where the priests would have eaten and slept. And then we've got the infirmary almshouse where the sick may have been tended and the poor would have been looked after. And then finally, we've got the schoolhouse. So that's the overall scene. Let's go into the church. The church is shrouded in scaffolding as it undergoes a £1 million restoration. When you first go in, the first thing you see high above you on the wall is the royal coat of arms. Dieu and Mon Droit, it says, which translates as God and my right. That is God and my right to rule France. But more, it is saying there was to be no papacy here. The king is head of this church. Then we move forward towards the altar. The tombs are clustered around this end of the church. The closer to the altar, the more holiness for the tomb and the tomb occupant. This is the tomb of Richard Vernon, who died in 1517, and his wife Margaret. This is the tomb of Sir Fulke de Pembrugge and his wife Isabel, who actually set up the Chantry College. Then, rather confusingly, let's have a look at another tomb. This is again of Richard Vernon, but this time he died in 1451, and his wife, Bendedicta de Ludlow. To lift the mood a little, we'll find some old signs hidden away. Let's have a look at one. If that to ring you do come here, you must ring well with hand and ear. Keep the stroke of time and go not out, or else you forfeit out of doubt. Our law is so concluded here, for every fault a jug of beer. If that you ring with spur or hat, a jug of beer must pay for that. If you take a rope in hand, these forfeits you must not withstand. Or if that you a bell overthrow, it must cost sixpence ere you go. If in this place you swear or curse, sixpence to pay, pull out your purse. Can pay the clerk, it is his fee, for one that swears shall not go free. These laws are old and are not new, therefore the clerk must have his due. George Harrison. To finish this brief tour, we'll go into the sanctuary and enjoy the 1902 east window. It was created by a guy called Charles Kemp, who was the go-to stained glass man at the time. He's got over 4,000 churches showing his windows. So, there it is. A huge amount of history, art and monument to see everywhere and be moved by. Should you visit? Absolutely yes. Thanks for watching.